Our next honoree of the night is Bonefish Sam Ellis. I love the picture in that book, man. That is the coolest picture. You kidding me? To tell you a little bit more about Bonefish Sam, please welcome to the stage Captain Gary Stoof.
Right where? First, I'd like to thank Bonefish's family and friends from Bimini for being here. It's probably not as easy as driving down from Hope Sound like I did, but it's an honor to be talking about Sam. Samuel Ellis was born on November 27th, 1919. I'm on table 19. In the Berry Islands. I didn't know that. He received his early education at the Bimini All-Age School. During recess, young Sammy would pass by the fishing docks to eat his snack, and there was many who would listen to his melodious voice and invite him to sing another song. One day he was invited aboard a tourist ship, and that was his last day at school. The boat belonged to the Colemans, a wealthy family from Florida. Upon their return to Florida, Mr. Coleman sent Ellis a large box of clothes, 2 sets of boxing gloves, and a rod and reel. It was the beginning of both his fishing and his boxing careers. Known as Bonefish Sam, before there was Bonefish, just about everything in some name, Ellis honed his skills by walking the beach and catch bonefish. Soon he performed the art of bonefishing. Early in his career, he was recognized as having landed 3 times as many bonefish as anybody else doing it. He was famous for his ultra-keen eyesight, he was a highly valued crew member for his great strength and his ability as a wireman on giant tuna and marlin. His notable clients included the Duke of Windsor, the Ford and DuPont families, George Lyon, Van Heeler, Jim Kimberly, and the Drake family, U.S. Congressman Adam Clayton Powell, Ernest Hemingway, and Michael and Helen Lerner. In addition to his fishing career, Ellis was also a fine boxer who went a few rounds with Hemingway. I'd love to have seen that. In 1959, he was featured in Life magazine along with his wife Irene and 9 of his 17 children. He was Father of the Year in the Bahamas in 1987, and in 1999 received the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism First Cacique Award for Leisure and Sports. In 1999, he was inducted to the Bimini Fishing Hall of Fame, a kind man who always opened his home to anyone who needed a place to rest and a head and a warm meal. Rest their head, not a head, probably that too. Ellis was founder and pastor of the Community Church of God, where he remained until his death on March 12, 2003. I first met Sam in the early 60s. Actually, I first met Sam in 1959. Like, back then you got Life magazine, maybe the Saturday Evening Post, Sports Illustrated, Outdoor Life, and Field and Stream. That's what was in my mailbox. And here's this Bahamian, and they're talking all about Bimini, and I'd never been to Bimini. My dad had been to Bimini. I heard lots of stories about Bimini, but I'd never heard about Bonefish Sam because my dad was a blue water fisherman, and I think in those days, well, Sam was probably fishing in the flats. Anyway, I never got a chance to ask my dad about that because he died that summer. But I went to Bimini as a mate in the early 60s. And the people we were fishing, they had enough guests where they wanted to ocean fish. I was a blue water fisherman. And, now I'm a shallow water fisherman. But back then, I wish I thought more about shallow water back then. I'd have been talking to him day and night, just picking his brain and learning about it. But I was in the deep water. Anyway, the people had enough guests, and we had Sam chartered. And one night the boss says, we're not going out to the restaurant tonight. Sam's going to bring some conch down or some Bahamian food that his wife is preparing for us. And I'd never eaten conch in my life, maybe fritters or something like that in a bar. But anyway, and this wasn't cracked conch. This was like a stew. and he brought pigeon peas and rice, and I tell you what, I can probably name maybe 5 of the top meals I've ever had in my life, and that's right in the top 5. So that was and then right after dinner, Sam asked if he could sing, and he was singing all these hymns, and he had a beautiful voice. I mean, he was amazing. The next encounter, well, every time I came to Bimini, Sam always came down and said hello. He was kind of like, I called him the mayor of Bimini, But anyway, we were tuna fishing in 1971. We'd just come from Cat Key. We'd won the tournament down there. We felt all good about ourselves. And I had a different angler in Bimini, and the first day was okay. There was some fish caught, and I think we were in second or third place. And then the wind just dropped out. It was flat, calm. Nobody wanted to fish. They tuna fishing in the Bahamas when it gets calm, you take the day off. It's just the opposite. The rougher it is, the better it is. Usually if it's too rough, you stay in. So anyway, my angler booked Sam to go bone fishing for 2 or 3 days. Finally, the last day of the tournament, you got to go. So he said, you mind if Sam comes along? I said, we're going to need all the luck we can get. So we brought Sam along, and we threw a Hail Mary pass. I mean, it was flat, calm. Didn't really think we were going to see anything. We just went through the motions, and so we ran all the way to Orange Key. We ran by everybody. Everybody thought we were crazy because they were saving gas and just idling and waiting for 4 o'clock. And we get way down there and way up inshore. It looked like a doggone coral reef up there. There was all these ripples and stuff, and we go over there, and there's a school of pushers up there, and we pull a bait in front of them, hooked up right away. We're a half a mile from the edge. You can see the bottom. We got this fish all settled down, and we pulled a hook. So we take off, and darn if we don't find him again. About 5 or 10 minutes later, we get another bite. Same thing, up in the shallows. He's not going anywhere. We don't have to worry about the sharks. But he didn't waste a whole lot of energy going deep because he didn't have any way to go. We were on top of him, and we had the double line. The double line came off the reel. We must have had the double line 10 or 12 times, and we kept losing it. Finally, we got the leader. The same deal. A mate had to keep letting the leader go, and the angler was getting frustrated. He probably hadn't had that, anything happen to, and the longer you have him on, we just knew we were going to lose him. It wasn't good, and the angler started cussing and swearing and taking the Lord's name in vain. There was a lot of GD words going around, and all of a sudden this voice comes from down below, and it says, "He doesn't mean it, Lord. He doesn't mean it." And that just sort of changed the whole mood. Everybody relaxed, the angler chilled out. We took our time and we caught the fish, and it was the winning fish. And if I got time for one more Sam story, a few years after that, we'd been over there for about a month and a half, 2 months, and we were stopping by Bimini for our last week over there. Sam came down, and fishing had been kind of slow. We had started deep water snapper fishing or anything just to have some action. So we had caught this real big silk snapper, and the boss wanted to mount it. So we had it right in the top of the freezer. And we were talking to Sam. I said, Sam, he asked me what we were doing. I said, well, we've been catching some silk snappers. And I said, we caught a real nice big, yeah, and no, it's the other one, the big pink one with the big eye, queen snapper. So anyway, we showed it to him. I don't know, 4 or 5 days later, I wasn't paying attention. Here comes Sam walking down the dock, and he's got 2 police-looking guys with him and a couple of dignitary guys, with suits on. And I'm like, what's this all about? And Sam's going, open your freezer, open your freezer. And I'm like, all I'm thinking is about maybe we might have had a little bit too many lobsters in that freezer, He'd been over there for a while, and we might have had just a couple over the limit. And I figured, oh my God, I'm going to Nassau. I can see it now. And my life was flashing in front of my eyes. And he comes up, he says, I want to show these men that silk snapper. I go, glad you can have it if you want it. He scared the life out of me, but Sam was a fine man. He was a real gentleman, and that's probably the side of Sam that, besides the fisherman, we all know that, but he was truly a good human being, and he's greatly missed. And I learned a lot from him, just about life too, really. And I wish I wish I had the enthusiasm for flats fishing then that I have now. I mean, it would have been amazing to go fishing with him. I never spent a day with him on the flats, but he spent a day with me in the deep water, and it was a darn good day. So congratulations to Sam. I feel honored to be in the same group with him.
Captain Peter Wright, you got a story for us too, please? No, take your time. This is what it's all about.
First of all, I'm so pleased to see all these Bahamians here. I have one daughter. Her name is Bimini Lee Wright. She's been to Bimini a few times. But I was a teenager working on a boat out of Hillsborough, Captain John Whitmer. The first time I ever got the privilege and opportunity to fish with Sammy Ellis. He was the number one mate. I was the last mate. That was my official title. I was a kid. And Sam was good to me. He was a good man, hell of a fisherman. When things were slow and there wasn't a lot of tourism in the Bahamas, he fed about half of the island with the fish that he caught, fishing deep dropping. Everything that's been said about him, I double and triple in spades. He was a hell of a guy. Thank you folks for coming. He was a wonderful representative. Thank you.
Let me find my spot here. I got some notes in there. To accept the Tommy Gifford Award on behalf of her late father, please welcome Pamela Ellis Mills to the stage.
Good evening to all. This is truly a bittersweet moment for us. It's bitter in that our dad isn't here to share in this memory, but it's sweet that you thought enough of him to recognize him this evening. And with me, and I wanted them to accompany me on stage, I've got several of my siblings. We have grandchildren here and even a great-grandchild. Everything you heard so far of my dad, everything you've heard so far is true. He was a great man, an extraordinary fisherman, a husband, a father. He was a pastor, a businessman, a musician, a brother, a friend. He was a boxer. There were so many titles that he owned. I could stay here all night naming them. But we are truly humbled by this evening, and we are grateful to all of you who have made it quite possible for us to be here, for your voting board and the persons who have elected him to be inducted. We truly are grateful. To Mike and Julie and Denise, you've been so good, and the IGFA, you've been so good to us with all the arrangements and our traveling here and calling and telling you who was coming, who was not coming and all. Thank you so much. The Bahamas government, and also we have representatives here from the Ministry of Tourism in the Bahamas. Mr. and Mrs. Stewart, they're here with us tonight as well. And we accept this on behalf of the people of Bimini, of friends and loved ones who are gathered here and those who are not, on behalf of my dad, and to all the fishermen all over the world, and to the young fishermen out of Bimini, because that's where he spent all of his professional life, those ones who are aspiring to be just like Bonefish Sam. We accept this award with pride, with dignity, and with love. And we say that God bless you all. And if my daddy was here, he'd say, let the church say, amen. Thank you so much.
Hang on 1 minute. I want to bring Leonard up here. Leonard Stewart, would you please come up here for a photograph? Is there anybody else that'd like to come up from that table? Come over this way.
Hold the award so we get finally get the award.
Right here, I got it. It's a very special moment. And I want to welcome you all up here. You just got to listen to the photographer. All the way down if we